So for the record, my name is Jonathan Jones, and today's Monday. And it's July the 22nd, 2024, and it's about 10 minutes after 11 o'clock. And again, I apologize for getting off to a little bit of a late start, but I'm like a fish out of water out here in Albany, Georgia. I did not know. Now, I'm from Florida, and we have palmetto bugs and every type of roach you could think of. I really think we have lock on that. I thought we had that down. I thought that we were the exclusive owners of all the insects in the United States until last night. I did not know German roaches could fly. The only time I've ever seen them was crawling around being a nuisance, someplace. But those little rascals can fly. So that was an eye opener for me. So I'm sorry. I feel so ignorant. And but y'all got some bugs out here. Y'all got some bugs. That's just the first one.
You met our next.
I met Nats. I was sitting in a meeting yesterday, and I got welcomed. I had to get up and go to the door. I said, well, maybe I got some lotion on or something that I forgot that I wasn't supposed to be wearing. So I got me a little paper towel and wet it, and I wiped everything off. I said, okay, let's take care of that. Well, maybe whatever this creature is that likes me, it's gonna stop. Would not stop. And then I saw my wife swinging at something. So okay, it's not just me. These little critters just welcome you to the neighborhood. That's all it is to it. So, but anyway, what can we tell you about our health? A couple of things. I think that's extremely important. Our discussion is going to center quite a bit around microdaily. And I think most of you are familiar with microdaily. If you have not, if you're here and you were invited by Dolores Levin, or if you were invited by Dr. Hatch, you're very familiar with microdaily. Put this out here for it's green, so camera's not picking it up too well. You're familiar with microdaily. So we're going to tell you quite a bit about microdaily and how it works, where it came from, and most of its history. But I also need to tell you a couple of negative stories and some positive stories, maybe to lay the foundation for our discussion. The first negative story I want to share with you was my own experience. My own negative experience. I was at the hospital. I called in the middle of the night. My mother was in the hospital. And my sister said they're asking her about signing a DNR. Now that was sobering enough that they were asking me about signing a DNR. My sister, because I never imagined that my mother was going to die. That never crossed my mind. I was raised to believe that if you have a problem, a health problem, you call a doctor, or you take a pill first. You take aspirin, you take some tonic, or take some something to make yourself feel better. If it persists, you make an appointment, go to a doctor. If it's really bad, you dial 911. Either way, it's just like having a problem with your car or any other thing. Once you have a problem, you go to the people who take care of those problems. You go to that facility and they resolve your health concern. So I thought that my mother was at the hospital in intensive care. That means she was getting the absolute best possible care. And the chances of her getting better was just a matter of time. So that phone call about signing a DNR was quite sobering to me. And so I went to the hospital. And I saw people punching in the code to get in and out of ICU. So eventually I figured out what the code was so I could go in and out whenever I wanted to go. So I went in, talked to the nurses, and I knew nothing about what I know now, fraction of what I know now. That day would change my trajectory forever. So I asked the nurse, I said, so what are you doing, for my mom? And she says, we're monitoring her very closely. And I said, well, I'm doing that. And I'm not getting paid. I'm monitoring, I see myself, right? But she, of course, was referring to all the equipment that told them exactly what her vitals were and everything else. But in my mind, I'm still saying, that's it. So I clarified my question. I said, no, I mean, what are you doing to change her condition? And the woman's eyes got big as silver dollars. And she looked at me and she said, to be honest with you, John, we're praying for her immune system to kick in. And to this day, I need therapy over that statement because it completely shattered my complete understanding of the medical system. I'm a firm believer in the power of prayer. Firm believer in the power of prayer. We had that covered. That was under control. We didn't need them doing that. Not for $10,000 a day that her insurance company was paying for. And again, thinking that she was just going to get better. And so it was at that moment I realized that they don't have an immune system kicker-inners at the hospital. They don't have those things. In fact, if they're praying for it, it's not here. They didn't send somebody down to Walmart to get it. They didn't send somebody over to another country to fly it in. They were just simply hoping for a miracle for the immune system kicker-inner. And I said, oh my God, we need to have immune system kicker-inners. If they don't have it here, how come no one has invented it? How come no one has brought that into the equation? Why is that not part of this standard of care? I just didn't get it. But I realized then I was in the wrong line of work. So my background is computer electronics and engineering. That was the end of that. Because I would never be in that hopeless, helpless situation ever again. Like, that's a bad feeling. I would never be there again. Second story, because my mother would not live that day. That was it. That was the day she died. Because they did nothing but watch her, monitor her to death. Okay, that's what happened. My version of it. From a child who lost his mom. Okay, that's what that was. That's about 20 years ago, and it's still just as painful now. Except Albany, Georgia changed everything. And mind you, I had some other things that I believe would help my mom. In fact, a lot of the things that I had already given to my mom, because my wife and I both decided we didn't want to be part of the statistics. So we began trying to do things ourselves early on in our married life, because diabetes was in our family. Her father had it, my mom had it, so we reasoned that that's passed on to you genetically and emotionally in your lifestyle. So we began making those kinds of changes early on in our married life because we just didn't want to go down that same road. So I had given some things to my mom, and my mom's response to me was, I got to check with my doctor first. So all the research, all the information, all the advances, in fact, the product that I given to my mom was called Immunicam. Excellent product, Immunicam. Excellent product that raises lymphocytic unifying levels in the body. Okay. And I've been flying all over the country giving lectures about glutathione. But that's how deep I went into it. I went all the way in, you understand? But not through the medical system. Because to me, there was something lacking. There was a problem. If they didn't have answers, I needed to find it from someplace else, wherever they weren't looking. So my mom had this, but she kept saying I had to check with my doctors first. And at that time, I didn't know enough about it to get past that objection to make sure that she would know enough. But let's come up to Albany, Georgia. How Albany, Georgia is evidence that I would never be in that situation again. Any of you know my sister, Karen Craig? I thought I know Dolores knows her. Nobody else knows her. Okay. My sister lives here in Albany. She's been here they've owned their house there for 20 years, right down out. I guess that's east. 82. 82. So they're out over there somewhere. And took me about 20 minutes to get here, from there. But I get a phone call from my brother-in-law that my sister is in the hospital. She's got partially collapsed lungs, double pneumonia, and they're thinking about putting her in ICU. And at the time, I was flying between Boston and Arizona because my brother-in-law, who's in Boston, he was also very sick with cancer. And I was in the middle of searching, trying to find things to help my wife's health. She had chronic autoimmune disease. My wife just was allergic to everything. She was allergic to me. So, and everything, the air, dust, everything. So I'm still trying to solve her immune system problem. But because at that time, again, I just told you I had things that was raising glutathione levels, but my wife was even allergic to that. This is supposed to be the best immune system product in the world, and she was allergic to that. How is this even possible? So obviously, I still didn't know the answers to it. So I'm looking around searching for it, but I get the phone call that my sister is here in the hospital. I think I passed the street where this hospital is. Phoebe or something? Is that what it's called? Phoebe? They just told me the name of it last night. We were just having a conversation because I hadn't been here at this is like 4 or 5 years before the pandemic. It's the last time I've been here. But that was back in, do you remember what year that was, Dolores?
I don't.
It was somewhere around 17, maybe 16, 17.
Around 17, I believe.
Okay. So I was en route flying and I came from Arizona and I had to change planes in Atlanta. I thought about getting off the plane in Atlanta and renting a car, but now I was stuck in this area. So I flew on down to Fort Lauderdale, slept for a few hours and got in my car around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I still don't know how I got here, but I got here and I had a whole bunch of immune system kicker in my pocket, right? Stuff I just found in Arizona. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's an amazing little product, but they use it in Africa to treat AIDS. So I know what this is going to do as far as the immune system is concerned. No doctor was going to tell me that they were praying my family member or anybody else I cared about. Immune system to kick it in. Let's kick it in. So I got here, my system was struggling to breathe. There was a tank in the room. I thought it was oxygen. I just found out it was helium. I didn't know they treated people with helium. So, I'm pretty sure it was oxygen. And maybe it was her delirium. She thought it was helium. I gotta look that up, but that's what she said. They told her over at the our hospital. Okay. So I handed my sister this spray, and the doctor had to come into the room, and I asked him what was going on, and he said, "Well, your sister has a bacterial infection. We know it's not gram-negative." He said, "But we don't know what it is. They're treating her with a broad spectrum antibiotic." And I was a little bit scary to hear that because one of her close friends, under the same circumstance, had just died 2 months before, same exact conditions. So I gave my sister this product that I was convinced was going to help. And she said to me later that the next day, all the pain in her chest had stopped. The next day after that, all the blood in her urine was gone. The next day after that, she was up and around in her room, walking around. The next day after that, they released her in syndrome. What is the point of this long drawn out introduction? Take control of your health, take charge of your health for somebody else. The only question is, what are you going to use? If you go on Google right now and say, I'm going to take control of my health, what are you going to find? What will you find?
A whole lot.
Millions and millions of responses,
Yes.
right? I challenge you to look through 1,000 responses. How do you get started with 300, 400 million responses and just determining which one really is the best one for you? How do you do that? So most of us, truthfully, should be told, listen to someone that we trust, right? We respond to someone that we trust. Dolores and I have gotten to know each other because of our connection through glutathione enhancement products for years. But many things Dolores knows about, she wouldn't know about unless we had had conversations about it. I wouldn't know about many things that I know about were it not for a trusted relationship with Dr. Jacuzzi, Dr. Laird, Dr. Hatch, and other doctors. I listen to them. These are the people that I trust. They're on the front line, they've got training, and they're seeing what happens in their patients. Back and forth, we end up trading suggestions about a lot of things, trading ideas about a lot of things. But it's about those kinds of relationships. The relationship now that I have, that I trust tremendously, is with Dr. Prasad, Dr. Kedar Prasad. Dr. Kedar Prasad is this gentleman right here. This man, YouTube, Dr. Prasad has an incredible background as a scientist and researcher. This man was the world's first radiation biology PhD. As a little boy, he was alive during the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs, the atomic bombs. And he said to himself then, somebody ought to come up with a way to help people survive exposure to radiation. So he says that's what he decided that would be his future. So traumatic things that affects young people. So he was a lot younger when he decided to go in that direction. He literally became the first in the world to be a radiation biology PhD. This man has since gone on to formulate products that have patents, worldwide patents, and or United States patents. So 10 of his 10 patents he has on his products. It's actually more than that. I think it's more like 12 now. But he was also a professor at the University of Colorado School of Medicine. And his focus, of course, was the vitamin and cancer research center. So he was the director of that area. But he goes on and has quite a few other accolades. You'll see them right there on that page. And for those of you who have a copy of this, and if you don't have a copy of this, we can email it to you. So we can text you an electronic copy of this document. But Dr. Prasad was also invited to be a member of the Nobel Peace Prize nominating committee of the candidates of medicine. And no one's ever given me a call to ask me to nominate somebody in medicine. No one's ever done that. Do you know why? I'm not nowhere in this category, in this man's league. Nowhere. But this man figured out, he's the first scientist to figure out that vitamin E succinate just happens to kill cancer cells. Had you ever even heard of vitamin E succinate? I hadn't. I thought vitamin E was vitamin E. This man figured out that of the 6, I think it's about 8 different types of vitamin E, he figured out the one that is vitamin E, but it also happens to kill cancer cells at the same time. He is the scientist that figured it out. That's a pretty brilliant man. No other scientist had drawn that conclusion. He also is the scientist who figured out that after certain bacteria consume prebiotics, one of the things it gives off is something called butyric acid. And guess what? It turns out butyric acid also kills cancer cells. He is the scientist that figured it out. Now, since then, hundreds of other references to his work have shown up in the official library of medical documents in this country. Hundreds, about 400, 500 different references to Dr. Prasad's work is in PubMed. PubMed.gov is where you can find it. And other doctors and other scientists have built off his work since then. What does that tell you? He's a brilliant man. He's a brilliant man. So I go in his direction. I listen to what he has to say. And it turns out, so does the United States government. They were looking for a way to help the soldiers on the battlefield have optimal health in the most toxic environments on Earth. No matter where they are, exposed to radiation, exposed to toxic food, breathing in horrible things, and yet still having optimal health. So they asked all the vitamin companies, can you help us produce something natural that would help the soldiers on the battlefield? And they all took a step back. Dr. Prasad took a step forward. I could do that. I could do that. So they spent millions of dollars backing his research. And sure enough, he came up with a little vitamin that has 8 patents on it by itself. One of those patents includes the words optimal health. Another one of those patents includes the words pulmonary and heart health. Another one of those patents includes the words treatment for diabetes mellitus. Those are just some of the patents on that one little vitamin that Dr. Prasad formulated for the United States government to be given to the military. They went through all kinds of rigorous tests because, you know, they're not just going to hand it out like Tic Tacs. You got to prove that this is not going to hurt anybody. And they call it the IRB, Internal Review Board. 8 years. 8 years it took. But 8 years it took of research. But 6 years of testing is what they went through. But the IRB, the US military IRB, that was 9 months of safety testing. Piles and piles of research he had to submit and prove that it would not contraindicate with any known pharmaceutical drugs. So if you're taking Coumadin, if you're taking Crestor, you're taking Lipitor, you're on Glucophage, you're on Metformin, you're on XYZ, ABC, he proved that there would be no contraindications. How could you prove that a supplement would not contraindicate with medication? How could you prove that? It must be completely safe. It must be completely innocuous. It has to be completely harmless to do that. Because many times, here's what the medical system will sometimes say. Now, mind you, trust me when I tell you that I'm not saying that doctors are bad. Some of them just are not as good as others, right? So the best doctors is the one you want to try to find. One of my spiritual mothers, I went to help her out with an insurance claim on her house one day. And she came to, she looked horrible. I mean, I had never seen her look this bad. And I asked her what was going on. She said, yeah, I feel terrible. She said, I can't get my blood pressure under control. And I said, I have something I think might help you. She said, I'm willing to try anything. So I gave her a bag of the vitamins that Dr. Prasad had formulated. She started taking them, and about a week later, she sent me a text message, and I could almost hear her screaming. And I could visibly see the difference when I went back to visit her. She says, I can't believe it. I'm on 3 blood pressure medications and could not get my blood pressure down. She said, this is the first time I've seen my blood pressure this low now in years. I mean, she was at stroke level, heart attack. I mean, she could have just not. Now, I actually thought she was coming back. She looked that bad. But finally, it all came down. It's getting under control, thanks to Dr. Prasad. So next time she went to her doctor, what would you think that a doctor would say if your patient was finally getting better? And they were going out in the yard and they're picking up St. Augustine grass and eating it and boiling it into a tea, but they were getting better. What would you think a doctor would say? Seriously, anybody?
Keep doing what you're doing.
Whatever you're doing,
Keep doing it.
keep doing it. What do you think her doctor said?
Uh.
Why would you think that? Why would you think he told her to stop?
Because you wasn't making any money and it was not medicine, it was unnatural and they don't believe in that. A lot of them don't believe in that.
Now, see, I would have never said that. I would have never said it, but everybody on YouTube heard you say it. I would have never said it. But he told her, stop taking it. It's interfering with my treatment. What do you think she did? She stopped. Boiling St. Augustine tea, grass into a tea, and you're getting better. And because the doctor said stop, she stopped. I'm a firm believer in obeying your doctor, following the doctor's advice. You find a doctor that you trust, you follow your doctor's advice. That's my belief. But in this case, Dr. Prasad, by the way, when I told him that, we were live on a live meeting. He said his words, I'm quoting Dr. Prasad, Dr. Kedar Prasad. He said, that's criminal. He should be prosecuted and go to jail. That's what he said to her about that doctor. Because about 6 months later, she would be on dialysis. And about a year and a half after that, she was dead. Take control of your health or somebody else will. She had a decision she could have made. where she was in control or she let someone else be in control. She chose to let someone else be in control. And we'll have to have that conversation somewhere down the road in the resurrection. And see whether that was a good decision or a bad decision. But from our perspective, do you think it was good or a bad decision? She's not here. That's all we know, right? So that's why my suggestion to everyone here and everyone who's listening on YouTube Live now, take control of your health or somebody else will. You decide. Dr. Prasad's research finally reached to the point where it was completely, all the human clinical trials were done and they released it to the military. It was not intended, listen to this carefully. If you don't remember anything else I'm saying in this entire presentation, this was never intended for the public. They never intended for this particular formulation to reach the general population. Never. That's not what it was designed for. The government only ordered its formulation for the sake of the military. Never was it thought that this, and probably that's the reason why every vitamin company stepped back, is because there was no. And who do you think is the owner of most vitamin companies, the vitamin manufacturers?
Pharmaceutical
Big
company.
pharmaceutical, big pharma owns them. So why would big pharma want to formulate something that would improve health across the board?
Let it be. Well, there we go.
Now, I'm told that there was a clinical trial being done at Walter Reed Medical Center. And someone else is trying to join the meeting. The Walter Reed Medical Center. And once it was determined that the controlled product was a natural substance, the entire management team was removed and replaced. And the trial stopped. Those who were receiving the controlled substance, which happened to be one of Dr. Prasad's formulations, all of their diabetes indicators was just improving. Everything was phenomenal. It was amazing what was happening to that group compared to the other groups. Amazing. And so when you're getting those kinds of results and it stands to reflect negatively on, it just won't see the light of day. So even after millions of dollars have been spent to launch that, it came to an end. The results were never ever published. Okay. However, that's not the case for everything. In this document, this science brochure, all the history behind this product is presented. So this is how it came out. This packet right here, designed for the military. It was designed to fit into their little pockets on their armor fatigues. That's what it was designed for, right there. That's what it looked like. I have some of these packets, and why on earth I didn't bring one with me?
I have one.
Yeah, okay, so Larson's got one of the originals. This is the scientist, because this scientist, Dr. Prasad, he didn't have deep pockets, he just got brain. This is the guy with deep pockets. They formed a partnership and brought this company, Engage Global, to the market. That's why Engage Global was born, because he was broke and he had bank. He was brilliant, he just had bank. So we have it. The government dropped this. This is no longer in existence. It is no longer being given to the military. This is the actual packet. That's the way it was presented. They purchased everything that the government had. And that's how we ended up with some of this. Because everything that was made for the military was in warehouses all over the place. But they ended it. Why would you spend 13, 14, $20 million to develop something and then drop it and bury it? Why? Too good, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my thinking. My thinking is it must have just simply been too good. But this man did not forget what he did. It was here. He did. That same military packet right there became this. So this was called MMF, military micronutrient formulation. This is called micro daily. So it's
Same problem.
the exact same unchanged formula from this man's brilliant mind. Okay? And remember, this one here has patents. Patents that have to do with healthy heart, pulmonary health, optimal health, treatment of diabetes, and several other things. Exact same problem. Now, this whole story goes on. I remember showing the ingredients label to a doctor. She looked at it. She said, "Look, it's just vitamins." And just pretty much threw it back at me. And I said, "Do you seriously think that decades of research and millions of dollars will produce a vitamin you can go pick up at Walgreens or CVS? I'm already taking all that stuff." And that's how she viewed it. But I challenge each of you and caution you, do not think of this as a vitamin. Do not think of this, even though it can get past your doctor as a multivitamin. Right? So, and that's the whole reason I told you all those negative stories at the beginning, because you have to make a decision. There are individuals who will say, "You don't need that. Just go pick something up at Walgreens." That's what they will say. My spiritual mother, that's what she was told. It's interfering with my treatment. How is that it could pass all those safety tests? You know why? Because it's safe. That's the most rigorous standard of safety testing in the world, was the military IRB, Internal Review Board. It really is. What's in this product is the food that's been taken out of our food. Most of this you won't find in the right quantities in our food. I don't care how healthy you eat. Even if you've grown it out the ground now, you won't get most of what's at the right quantities. One scientist did the research. You go back to the early 1900s when our grandparents was eating food and growing food. 1 ear of corn back then had so much nutrients in it that today you'd have to eat about 20 ears of corn to get the same nutrients. Just the nutrients. Forget the genetically modified organisms and the pesticides and all the other chemicals and toxins. I'm talking about the nutrients. So if you take the nutrients away and you replace that with GMOs and other toxins, what do you have? Something else. It's food. Technically, it's food, but it's missing something. See, it's missing something. So microdaily is the food that's missing from food. That's all you have to remember. But I will tell you this, it's a little bit more than that, because if you take it in the right quantities, it is unbelievable under certain circumstances. And the rest of this document is worth the read. It's worth reviewing. It's worth going through this and reading every single word. Right? I take this one for example. Dr. Prasad, remember, is the world's first radiation biology PhD, right? So his product, the original formula, already was proven to help the body's DNA repair after being exposed to radiation already. But he decided we need a little bit more, because back then there was no such thing as cell phones. And back then there was no such thing, well, I think cell phones existed, but back then we didn't have 5G radiation. Well, 5G radiation is 700 times more powerful than the original cell phone technology. How many of you guys own one of those first cell phones, the ones they call a brick? Anybody own one of those?
I got one.
You have Oh, you say you still got one?
Just as a souvenir.
The Smithsonian looking for you. You have one?
I agree with one.
Yeah. It's like a microwave under the seat in the car, right? Mhm. Yeah, it's like sitting on a nuclear reactor. 5G radiation. is 700 times more worse than that. Than the original cell phone technology. And we are all walking around with one. Who does not have a phone in this room right now? I got one right here in my back pocket. You got one right there. That's in your heart, ain't it?
And they don't need to be there.
I know it don't. Don't move it now.
Better not later.
I remember having this conversation with a group one time, and a woman reached over and took her phone from her child. I said, too late for that. No, that's already abuse. Too late for that. But we all have it, and it's right near vital organs. Go to the World Health Organization website and look up cell phones and see what they say about it. Possible carcinogen. It may say probable by now. I don't know. They might have finally got it right. They said probable. But we're walking around with this, and nobody's concerned. My case, by the way, just so you know, this right here is a shield. It's a radiation shield. So yeah, I wasn't scared to have it in my pocket. Because this blocks it. Blocks it. It's still bad.
Right.
It's still bad. There's no way around it. Unless you're putting something in your body to help neutralize the damage and repair the damage. We are all being slammed by, even if you don't have a cell phone, 5G radiation is in the air, it's everywhere. And they got it in your schools. Even the kids are not carrying cell phones. 5G towers are near schools. It's everywhere. That's what we're dealing with. So Dr. Prasad added 4 more ingredients to make what was really excellent even better. It was already the best thing on the planet. He made it even better, added 4 more ingredients to it. So that's the reason why. So if you're wondering what the difference between the original and this one is, it's the step up to deal with the 5G radiation, right? Does everyone have to have it? No, you don't. No, you don't. But just ask yourself the question, do I want the best or do I want good enough? Just your choice. Yes, to which route you go. You determine what your level of exposure is. And this one right here, this next product, this is the probiotic. You remember the other thing that Dr. Prasad, I told you 2 things Dr. Prasad discovered. The first one was vitamin E succinate. It's in microdaily. The other one was that the byproduct of the butyric acid, right, from fermentation of fibers in the gut, is an anti-cancer agent. This man knows something about the gut. This man is an expert on the gut and gut bacteria. He formulated a probiotic that, in my opinion, is the best on the planet. Most of the probiotics, you go look at them on the shelf, look at the bottle, it'll say 50 billion international units, per capsule, 100 billion, that many, right? It's billions and billions of them. But this one doesn't. It's got a very small amount per dose. Do you know why? He selected the ones that we need the most. He selected the ones that were acid resistant, the ones that were heat resistant, the ones that when they consume fiber and prebiotics will produce butyric acid. Do we like butyric acid? Go like this. Anything that's going to be fighting against cancer, right? Because remember, it's not just this. Literally, everything is trying to make our health go south. Everything is trying to make our health go south. I don't care what it is. If you're not working to keep it north, it's gonna go south. It's like a car that needs a front end alignment. Always pulling to the left. If you don't keep a constant pressure to the right, where's it going? Off the road. That's exactly what's gonna happen, period. Probably only a minute or a bit to relate to that illustration, so I'm sorry. My apologies. Oh, you know what a front end alignment is? Okay, so you know, okay, all right. Sorry, wrong, I stand corrected. But this, health begins in the gut. That's where it all starts. Our gut is everything. So make sure you take one of these every day. That's all you need. Because it's putting the right bacteria and changing our gut from dysbiosis to balancing our gut microbiome. To biosis. So from dysbiosis to biosis, bringing it into balance. Our gut. And when your gut is working, all the nutrients work even better. Your body absorbs it better. So that's the advantage of the entire thing. The omega-3, we could talk all day about omega-3. My sister says she's taking omega-3, 6, 9. I said 3, 6, 9. You're getting plenty of 6 and 9 in everything else that you're consuming. Plenty of it. Everything you're consuming is trying to create and promote inflammation in our bodies. We don't need all the extra 6 and 9 stuff. We don't need it. Everything Dr. Prasad formulated is in this. So this is the best one out there. So what other omega-3s you're consuming is garbage by comparison. So I take 2 of these in the morning, every morning. I can't believe the difference person. And I thought I already felt good until I started taking that omega-3. The collagen, he formulated this one. This one, by the way, is patented now. So it's not like any other collagen in the world. No other collagen is like this one. You can go to Costco, Walmart, whatever place you go to for your collagen, and you'll find all kinds of collagen, walls full of collagen, but you won't find this one. The best of them have hyaluronic acid in it, which helps keeps the moisture in our skin. But not a single one of them stops us from losing our collagen. Not a single one has an enzyme inhibitor. From age 20 on, we start producing an enzyme that degrades collagen in our body. That's why we start looking older. That's what causes the aging process, is the loss of collagen, that enzyme that we start producing. This has 2 enzyme inhibitors in it that blocks the loss of the collagen. So you keep what you make. So 1 scoop of this a day, and life changes. It slows the clock. Nothing's going to stop us from the inevitable. But this is slowing the clock down. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking at slow the clock down. So this combination right here, what Dr. Prasad calls the core 4, this is the way to go. So if your budget can bear it, you go with the core 4. If it can't, just go a la carte and pick the things that you want. You know, the very minimum you want is microdaily and the probiotic. That's the very least you want, is the microdaily and the probiotic, but you want all the other anti-aging components, go with the whole core 4. And this bundle right here, if you bought it on retail, if you went and tried to buy all the ingredients at CVS or Whole Foods or any other vitamin shop, all the ingredients that's in this will cost more than $1,000 to get them all. Buying these retail on Amazon will cost about $320. All of this on Amazon. If you even became a distributor, like Dolores is a distributor, Dr. Hatch is a distributor, you can get it for about $225, $230. That would be the cheapest you could buy it for. That's the wholesale price. That's what I buy it for. But when you buy it as a bundle, the Core 4 bundle on a subscription as a preferred customer, guess what the price is? You're not talking another $25. It goes down to $199.99. So it's even cheaper than we can buy it for. So that's why this is the better way to go. And this month, by the way, when whoever your sponsor is, if they pick up the phone and call the company to place this order, they're going to throw in a digestive boost also. And the digestive boost is on the next page. So you'll see all about that. So a person who's lactose intolerant or has trouble breaking down fats or has trouble with their digestive system and all kinds of other issues, they're going to throw one of these in, in addition when you order the Core 4. So they're very, the company is extremely, extremely generous. I consider what they're doing is subsidizing our health. Is what they're really doing. So, and that ideally, of course, everybody wants to have customers because customers are valuable. Customers are a valuable commodity. Hence the reason why there's so much effort being put forth to protect industries. Industries that are out there in existence right now, they are trillion-dollar industries. Billions and billions of dollars is involved in the healthcare system. One doctor, Dr. Jimmy Gutman, says that we don't have a healthcare system. He says we have a sick care system. That was quoting Dr. Jimmy Gutman. So they don't believe that it's all about actually making us healthier. Dr. Prasad formulated an eye boost. I just heard a story yesterday. I don't know if any of you all heard his live conference yesterday, but one woman came on there. She said her doctor told her that she was losing her eyesight. And so she had a disease where she was going blind. It's just gonna be a matter of time. And I think she couldn't afford the microneedle or something, she only took the eye boost. Next time she went to the doctor says, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. Because your eyes are no longer getting worse, they're actually getting better. The only thing she did was add the eye boost to the equation. So I have noticed personally that improvement in my vision. I don't even have bad vision, but I use readers, for the most part. But I'm noticing much clearer vision. So I'm looking forward to being done with glasses. Oh, and the sleep boost. I see. I take 3 of these little puppies every night. I'm getting my 8 hours now. 8 hours unbroken sleep. Yeah, that's those things are amazing. And CBD boost, great for anxiety. They have a children's gummy. So if you care about your grandkids or your kids, then this is good. They taste great, by the way. So I'm just saying, mine for the kids. Don't be surprised if you don't see them as a treat and you start sneaking them. So they are nice. 4 of them, I think 8 equals a standard dose of microdaily. So very, very strong. And then there's 2 other formulations that's also mentioned in here. The microdaily methylated. That's one step between the original and the EMF, the red bottle. So the purple is like halfway between the original and the EMF. So it just does not have all the extra 5G radiation stuff, but it has methylated bees, so the body can absorb the bees better. So there's a rare person that has a genetic issue with the MTHFR gene. They need this one because the body can't methylate bees. So if you have trouble absorbing bees, and by the way, right now, certain treatments for like COVID and things like that has wreaked havoc on central nervous systems. B vitamins like B9 and B12, critically important for the central nervous system. So the methylated or the EMF is the perfect way to go if you really need extra support for the central nervous system. So those 2 are great for that. This is just the hydro version of the original formula. That's all. It's a powder, just mix it in water. So it's just the same as the original formula. That's why we put the green bottle behind it, just so people can know it's the same exact formula. And the last thing I want to tell you guys about is this. This is kind of important. And I asked somebody, what were they looking at over here? What do you think that is? Makes you think of liver, right? Yeah, but it's lungs. It's just like this. This is lung tissue, and so is that. Okay. Now, see, the one on the right looks like liver, right? But the one on, the one on the left side looks like liver, but it's actually lung tissue, just like the other one. What's the difference between the 2? They both are rabbits' lungs, 2 different rabbits. Those 2 rabbits had their favorite meals on the day that they took this trip to the Space Center. They had their favorite meals because it was going to be their last. This one had his favorite meal, the one that looks like liver. But the other one had its favorite meal mixed in with some of Dr. Prasad's formula. Both of them were slammed with the same lethal dose of radiation. They both died, but look at the difference in their organs on the inside. Look at the difference. This is the level of protection we get when we put that EMF in our body. It keeps our organs looking the way they're supposed to look. Because we're all being slammed with radiation. Do nothing, and this is what's going on. We're cooking from the inside out, basically. So that's the reason why I heard people say, I didn't feel anything when I took it. You didn't feel anything. Most people don't feel anything just before they die. Right? They don't feel it. There's no indicator light on our body that says, you got 10 minutes left. There's nothing that says you're about to run out of gas, like in our car. We know it. There's something called DTE, distance to empty. Right? And they tell you how many miles you can drive. I knew exactly how many miles it was to get to here from the last time we gassed up. 462 miles is what that car could do. And it said it was going to take us 340 something miles to get here, which meant I have 166 some miles left over before I was going to run out of gas. I felt confident I could pass every gas station on the road because we're going to be here. We don't have that kind of indicator light. that tells us we about to run out of gas. But we do know what's inevitable. And we do have science. And we have common sense. All we need to do is put the two together.
We don't teach that in school anymore.
What's that?
We don't teach common sense in school anymore.
No. No such thing as teaching common sense in school. You know, either you got it or you don't. There's a lot of folks now in school, they teach how to become proficient with computers. I saw a little baby in a scooter reach up and touch my wife's tablet and choose another video, a different video. It wasn't an accident. It was with a finger. Pick the next one that she wanted to listen to. And when that one stopped, she hit and picked another one. How does a 4-year-old do that? But they don't. That's what they're being taught. They're being taught. And they're being taught compliance and conformity. I would have never, ever, ever said these words decades ago. I just did not believe that that was the case. I didn't think it. I really didn't. I really thought we had the freedom to choose what we wanted. So my invitation to everyone is take control of your health, or somebody else will. Because it's already happened. Someone else is already in charge of what's happening to us. We can disrupt the process. We can alter the outcome. It's our choice as to where we go with that. Now, this last page here, those are the clinical trials that were all done on the original formula. There's a lot of information, which is just incredible. The one I just told you about with the lungs, important to know that. The others are also important, but the rest of them are what they are. Now, I told you about a little bit about the Walter Reed Medical Center 1 Diabetes 2 Protection. That's based off Dr. Prasad's memory of the events. Because it's never published. It is what it is. These are the patents on the product right here. Whole list of patents. You can search those. Just go on the internet and you can find every one of those patents for yourself and see. These are just some of Dr. Prasad's books. This man has written more than 35 books.
Grant,
I think he's working on his 35th book right now. He's I think he's 90. Is Dr. Prasad returned 90, didn't he?
he's gonna turn,
He's turned 90 this year
right, he's gonna be 91 in birthday?
and still writing books. Still writing books. So pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. What's that? What's your question?
I was just saying, I thought he was gonna be 90 this year.
Okay. 90 this year or 90 next year? We are talking about someone who is 90 years old writing books. That's what we're talking about. Someone who's in their 90s writing books. That's pretty amazing. So that's the full essence of this document here. And the story behind it, and the reason why we highly recommend that every single person do something. Take charge of your health. So let's take your question. Let's see if anyone has any questions before we move on. Any questions at all? There's no such thing as a stupid question, so the only stupid one is the unasked question. Yes, please.
I don't have a question, I just have a statement.
Listen to me, we're just going through.
Because I've been using the product ever since, probably Louis Stewart introduced it to me. And I've shared it with family members.
See from a friend, see someone who cares.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, not bragging, but it's an excellent product. I'm in my, I hate to say it, but I'm glad to say it, I'm in my 70s. And people who are younger than me can't do what I can do.
That's right.
I do my own gardening, I do my own yard work, I do my own housework, I help take care of other folks. And I feel good 90% of the time because I use the product. And I've been into herbs and vitamins all my life. But this is one of the better ones, and I don't have to take a whole lot of other stuff by using this one. So it's not a joke, it's not some bogus. It's a good product, and I give it to anyone, share it with anyone, and I have. I've, matter of fact, given some away just so that people can try it and see what it does for them. So,
Thank you for sharing that. And I know Dolores, when COVID hit, she and her husband went through an experience. You want to share that experience, Dolores?
Yes.
There was no such thing as a vaccine.
No, at that time, well, we didn't even know we had COVID.
Right.
Because here it was being said that, everybody had an upper respiratory infection or, urinary tract infection. So I had a Bible study that went to the hospital, and that's what she was told. I went to the hospital to visit her, but for some reason, I don't know, I went in the door. And I just stopped at the door. I didn't go to no bed. I just let her know I was thinking about it, and I would check with her later. Before I got home, I started feeling terrible.
Oh my goodness, just going to the door, you got it.
I got, when I got home, I started feeling terrible. And each day it got worse. But still I didn't know. But then we was hearing things then about, if you lose your smell and your taste, that's, they realized it was COVID. So I lost my smell and my taste. But we didn't have to go to the doctor. We just loaded up on microdelic. And I know with my age and my husband's age and his health issues, if we had not been taking the product, we would have ended up in the hospital and maybe even in the morgue. Because a lot of people did, from that lady that I contracted it from. Her sister, her niece, they all end up in the hospital on ventilators.
Wow,
And she lost one sister.
wow.
Yeah, she lost her sister. So, I mean, it was really bad, but I just stuck with the, I drank a whole lot of macadamia, a whole lot of everything, all day long. That's all we could do. Both of us, but we did excellent.
And still here to tell the story. Mhm. Yes, sir, any question or comment?
I thought now, there's something else. My son showed me a video on parasite. Is what got me on that thing. Talking about taking, regular hamburgers and putting them out, twisting around and split it in a white plate. And then take some alcohol and pour it in and wash all the food going everywhere. And that's when I got me started on the pudding. I was with Michael David. So I went to take H2O, which is hydrogen peroxide. Y'all don't know, but it's not kind of go to Walmart buy it. It's a food grade.
Food grade, uh-huh.
And I got a 3% version. I started taking it 3 times a day. And I started pushing balls out of my body. I got one on my stomach, I deal with it. I got one on my back, I deal with it. I got one on my butt, I couldn't deal with it, but I couldn't feel. So went to the doctor. And that kind of PA in there, she said, I feel getting panicky out of that. Oh, you got a little extra thing, so I can get out of here. Well, you got to have surgery. Well, I ain't having surgery. All you need to do is that. I didn't do that. I'll see put some antibiotics in it. That's all you do, just put up little more stock in that bowl. And we got salt things too. After that, I went to start having a little issue with my throat. So I went to the doctor, ENT, and he looked at my throat and said, "You got cancer growing in the tonsil." That it, they was forcing most of the cancer up that was in my body and start pushing it out. Or one of the places, there's only 3 places or 4 places you can go out to feed your food, your skin, or your, to your tonsils. But that's a filter. So it started coming through that right there. So I go through it, then tonsils, they go and say, you're gonna have radiation, you're gonna go, no, I ain't. I'm going to Antigua on this trip first. Now I'm coming back, we'll talk about it. Come back, I ain't calling go back yet.
Oh.
Well, I'm not having chemo, so it kills a bunch of good stuff. And I was getting this microdata, so I just kept taking it.
Mm-hmm.
But then got rid of last time I went was a year. They did a PET scan, said he was expecting to be a stage 4. He only grew like 1.4 centimeters. That was I cut back on the without taking any microdata. They had me doing 3, and then it went to 6. I cut it back down to 3. I probably should have kept it up to 6, but we only do 1.4. So now I'm expecting it to go back down, so I kind of picked up a little bit.
Very good. Very good. That's wise to stick with the high dose. In fact, I was going to just mention that for anyone who is fighting abnormal cells. If there's abnormal cell in the conversation, you have to go with a therapeutic dose. Dr. Prasad has a published paper on how high dose antioxidant blocks the uptake of glucose and glutamine into abnormal cells. Blocks the uptake of glucose and glutamine into abnormal cells. Now, an abnormal cell is one that we don't want in the body. That's what causes growth of tonsils and whatever. Those cells have to have glucose and glutamine to survive. Just like we have to have food and water. If you cut off food and water, what happens to us? Common sense, right? We're just gonna die.
They can go without food for, 4 weeks, something like that.
Uh-huh.
You can go without water, for 7 days. You
Uh-huh.
can't go without oxygen for, what's this?
5 to 10 minutes.
Yep.
That's right. But it's gonna be just a matter of time. If you cut off any two of those, you're done. We're done. Abnormal cells require the uptake of glucose and glutamine. Cut them off, and they're done. Okay? Now, having said that, looking back over the years, trying to find all the solutions to my wife's health problem, my sister, and other people. My wife, by the way, is fine. We found out she had leaky gut syndrome. We solved that problem and reset her immune system. So she can now eat anything I eat. She doesn't walk into a room where we go into dusty environments. I'll be coughing before she is. You know, sometimes still chemicals and perfumes still set her off. But other than that, no more food sensitivities, none of those things, because we got her gut straight. And all these products, she takes every single one of these, has no negative reaction. So she's doing great. But now, when it comes to abnormal cells, we've had a hard time really kind of getting a handle on it over the years. So, but I figured, you know, if one thing could be solved, I mean, everything could be solved. There must be answers out there that just simply are buried. No pun intended. But they just didn't want to be known. Just recently, we've had now 4 cases of what's called triple negative breast cancer. My company, by the way, is Healthcare Support Association of America. It's a small nonprofit organization. And all we do is push the word out. That's our goal. And for the most part, we found out that what's in these brochures, that's the answer. That's the answer to 90% of everybody's problems. On rare occasion, we have to add some more things, you know, to it. So, but we give free consultation. I forget what your page is, but Healthcare Support Association of America, HCSAAA.com/7. What's your extension? 707 or something like that?
I gotta look on my phone. I don't know. Look on my phone.
But that website itself gets you, you know, to a place where you can request support if you want to give free suggestions. But this one woman got to us, and she had triple negative breast cancer, and it was on her left breast, and it eventually ruptured and exploded outside of the breast, and it continued to grow to the point where it fungated. It fungated and grew to the size of a football.
Yeah.
So we're talking about an 11-inch mass outside her body, size of a football. She started taking therapeutic doses of microdata, EMF. But she took more than that. She was taking, because therapeutic doses 3 times the normal amount. So instead of 1 packet of hydro twice a day, it was 3 packets of hydro twice a day. But she added another one at noon. So she was doing 3, 3, 3. All right. So she was hitting it hard. She decided she wanted to really beat this thing. In the first week, our first phone conversation, she said, "Do you have anything for pain?"
Yeah.
I'm saying to myself, "You got triple negative breast cancer, but your first question is pain."
I thought you already.
But it wasn't just pain. It was 7 distinct places of morphine lower pain. So this thing was literally eating her alive. And so she said she didn't want to get hooked on the pain meds, so she was trying to find something to replace that. So we just gave her a couple of suggestions that would only take the edge off. I told her, I said, well, the way we deal with pain is resolve the issue. So she said, well, get going. What's the resolution? So I told her how to get started. In the first week, she was down to just 3 areas of morphine and everything. In the first week, 3. In the second week, only 1. So out of 7 morphine level specific spots with pain, in 2 weeks' time, she was just down to 1. And after just a couple more weeks, that had gone down to level 4. How could something natural do that? Because of pure science, pure science. Then pieces of this mass just started falling off. Every time she changed her bandage, there was pieces of this thing in the bandage just started falling off. So let me see if I got this right. Abnormal cells really do need glucose and glutamine. If they don't get it, they have trouble with that. They have trouble. She eventually decided, lots of pressure from family, by the way. You know, when someone's fighting something like this, you know what family wants. They want cut, burn, or poison, one or the other, right? That's what they want. So she was going through lots of challenges with family, with that issue, and eventually she decided, okay, I'll do radiation. I'll do radiation because at the first week, number one, it stopped growing. We know that it stopped growing. I mean, the pain went away, but also stopped getting bigger. Its largest size was 11 inches. It no longer grew when she was on Dr. Prasad's formula. Pieces of it was falling off, but because these were uncharted waters, no one knew what was going to happen. Is it eventually just going to fall off? And if it does, what about the open blood vessels? You know, was she hemorrhaged to death? No one knew. It was all uncharted waters. Every time she was bleeding, she was running back and they would cauterize an area. So she decided, you know what, let's just see what happens. She decided to go for the radiation. And in her words, the radiation was all over the place. Now the doctors on our team said, why could they not just localize it to that one spot? Well, they did. She's got radiation burns all over her back. It wasn't really as severe as it could have been because she's obviously on high doses of microdata, but she had burns. Because in their mind, what was she to them? Pretty much a corpse anyway, right? Because no one's ever survived that in that situation. But after the 3rd dose, the oncologist said, I've never seen this before. That thing is dying and it's continuing to die. She said, I've never seen a response like this. Well, why was it dying? Because it was already starving to death. It's like one of the German cockroaches. You know, if you sprinkle down a little bit of butyric, boric acid, right? If it's making it, it's about done. Easy to kill it then, right? Because it's not running. Yeah, it's the same thing with this. It was already dying. The radiation zapped it so bad, and then about 3 weeks after the last dose of the radiation, it was steady shrinking. It finally went down to about this size. And a few weeks later, it was completely gone. Completely gone. No other immune system product have we ever tried. Did we ever get those kinds of results? Nothing. And I got some really good stuff. I had some stuff that took care of a guy with esophageal cancer. Certain people around here even had esophageal cancer. Took care of it. And never these things. That's how powerful some of the other things that we found. But this is in a whole different league. When you take therapeutic doses of it, it's amazing. So don't think in terms of cost, because the cost of anything else is 3 to 4 times higher to get the results. This at therapeutic dosages is still only somewhere around 300, maybe 400,000 at most, per month. And most people don't have to stand up for that long if you are dealing with an abnormal cell situation. So if you're dealing with abnormal cells, I would suggest to you, try going on triple doses 3 times a day, do it for about a month or two, and then bring it down slowly. Everything will change. Pure science. We're not allowed to promise that this will treat or cure any disease. In fact, I forgot to relate the entire disclaimer about this entire presentation. This has been for education and information purposes only. The FDA has not evaluated these statements. None of this is meant to be a substitute for visiting your primary healthcare physician. Strongly, strongly, strongly recommend that you seek common medical advice of professionals that you trust. Testimonies are unrelated, all purely anecdotal. What happens to one person may or may not happen to another. So that's for our disclaimer to you too.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Have you ever heard, or had someone to deal with MGUS?
MGUF, I don't know what that is.
It's a long word. Magna gamma gammopathy of unknown source.
How does it manifest?
It's found like through blood work.
How does it show up in a person's body?
An abnormal protein in the blood.
Abnormal protein in the blood
Yeah, it's the abnormal protein.
from unknown source.
Yes. Yeah,
Is there a temporal correlation to a treatment for COVID?
I don't think so.
Any treatment for COVID at all?
We have
Go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm answering for myself.
You had it twice?
Yeah, the first one,
Did you have the NGS before this or after that?
it was diagnosed after.
After.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think you're already getting to the root of your issue. Yeah, I know exactly what you need to do.
I mean, I take the product. You might not you recognize it?
No, I don't, but I know exactly what you need to do.
That's my daughter.
Ah, okay.
Monica.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
When I'm a fish out of water.
Yeah.
If I'm in a pond and now I'm in the ocean,
yeah, they just, that's something that's been recently diagnosed.
yeah, but then there's a couple things you need to do. What's happened is the immune system has taken a nosedive. And I refer to that thing, by the way, as Kool-Aid. So that's how I call it. Since the Kool-Aid, it has manifested itself in some very, very strange ways. And it made me nervous right at the beginning, not because I was particularly nervous, but because my doctors all said to me, because of my personal history with cancer, that I should stay away from it. And because of my wife's issue with her lungs and allergies, that she should never drink Kool-Aid. Okay, so we were both told the same thing. That being the case, I knew that there would be tons of our clients who would. So we began to try to get on the front line and then get ahead of it to figure out what in the world a person could do. So there's a couple things right now. There's an enzyme that binds itself to the spike protein, because what they chose to do was when a vaccination, in most vaccinations, they give you an injection and it stays right there. The idea is for it to be in the injection site and the immune system to recognize that something is annoying and send antibodies over there and create the antibodies for us. So now if you're ever exposed to it, it'll take care of it. But this didn't happen. See, that not just went to the injection site. In some cases, it went right into the bloodstream. And it was distributed everywhere. Now, the immune system begins to produce an antibody against it, and now it could potentially be attacking anywhere. And if one or two of those little things say ended up on a heart muscle, the immune system will attack those cells on that heart. And if it attacks the right cells on the heart, it could disrupt its electrical signal. And that has happened multiple times. If it makes its way to the ovaries, it can disrupt a natural process, any part of the body. The immune system is eating away at it. And once the immune system eats away at it, there's no evidence that there was anything there before. It's gone. So it's like erasing ink. You signed it, but now there's no signature. It's there for the time that it was needed, but now there's nothing there. Oh, what's the evidence? This happened. But in the blood, turns out what's happening in the blood is that that little stinker is binding to certain fibers and creating unknown proteins. Those proteins, if they collect themselves together enough, they're forming certain clots in some cases. And it's like literally blocking off arteries. And apparently in some cases, it's not doing that enough. And it could be because something is keeping the count of the spike proteins down in your body so that it's not going quite that far. So it could be that what you need to do, a number of things you might need to do to deal with that. Shoot me a text and I'll point you to the right direction of a few things that I would notice on YouTube. That
I have some that, Vicky told me about.
Good.
Mhm.
and I know she understands the whole thing about NATO kinase also, that's all good.
Yes,
But there's a whole nother element that you might need to add on to get rid of it, because you've got to get the amount of spike down. The fiber, because you're doing the NATO, that's what's stopping the fibers from binding together. But the protein is there. So now getting rid of that is another challenge. The only way to do that is to genetically get down to disrupting what's happening genetically in the mRNA process and stopping it from binding to that. That's all gotta get disrupted, and there's a way to do it. Yeah, friend of ours was dealing with something like that down, not the same exact condition, but the after effect of that in Bolivia and other places. So you can beat it. You can beat it. So what about-
You said something about your wife with the leaky gut. I know some of my blood work and stuff I took to naturally. And he said a lot of my numbers look like it got something to do with the gut. Leaky gut. He did mention leaky gut.
Okay,
He did.
okay, he did. If you can find high quality collagen, that will take care of the leaky gut. And the best one that I know is AminoRx, the powder. So we tried so many of, we tried a ton of different places, even from New Zealand. That happened to be the best one. It's amazing what it's doing, AminoRx powder. So please go.
Would you briefly, once again, because she wasn't here where you was talking about the difference in just any collagen and probiotic in comparison to iron.
Yeah, the collagen, just a brief recap on the collagen itself. And if you any place that sells collagen, health food stores, they got average collagen that doesn't have two things in it, something for the skin and something for the moisture in our skin. Then they got the better ones that has a hyaluronic acid. That's the one that keeps the moisture in the skin. But the absolute best one would stop us from losing collagen in the first place, and that's what category this one is in. Because Dr. Prasad, that's patented, by the way. There's no other one like it on the market. There's nothing like it. Because by the time we hit age 20, we begin producing an enzyme that causes collagen in our body to go down. It depletes our body of collagen. That's why we begin to age. It look like we're aging starting at age 20. So everything starts to go the other way at that point. It doesn't really start to show up until we hit around 50s and 60s is when we really start showing signs of aging. But nonetheless, it's because of the loss of collagen that does that. Dr. Prasad put 2 enzyme inhibitors in this collagen. And it's the only one on the whole market in the world that has enzyme inhibitors added to it. So in other words, it has all the best components to reduce wrinkles, to keep moisture in our skin, but it also stops us from losing what we make. So you can keep what you make. And collagen peptides goes anywhere that the body needs it. The body knows where it needs it. It could need it in the brain. And the interesting part about the production of collagen in the brain is that it happens to block the production of beta amyloids. Beta amyloids is what leads to dementia and Alzheimer's. So I didn't mention that before. That's one of the things, the benefits of this particular collagen. So basically, that's the advantage of that collagen. It's better than anything out there in the market and it's patented. One of the advantages of this collagen too that I didn't mention before is Dr. Prasad mentioned that it improves the efficacy of all diabetes treatment. So no matter what someone is doing for their diabetes, this actually makes it even better. And by the way, that's another thing about the omega-3. The omega-3 causes the cells to let glucose in. You're the only thing that lets glucose in is insulin, right? Insulin is the key, like this door here, we couldn't let nobody in, because there's no key here. Well, that's what happens with diabetes, is that the glucose can be outside the door trying to get in, but unless insulin goes in the lock and opens the door, the glucose can't get in. Turns out omega-3 performs the same function. Nobody's talking about that. So Dr. Prasad, you're taking micro daily along with omega-3, along with collagen daily, and diabetes don't have a chance. They had to take my 93-year-old mother-in-law off insulin last year. No more. They had to take her off. She no longer needed it. If she took the insulin, her sugar level would drop pretty low. How do you get somebody at 93 to no longer need something they've been taking? Dr. Nacuzzi said to me, one of his patients went to her endocrinologist, the diabetes doctor, and the doctor said, I'm sorry, I can't write you another prescription. She said, what do you mean you can't write me another prescription for insulin? I've been taking this insulin for 30 years. She was in her 80s. 80s, no, late 80s, early 90s. And the doctor said, I can't give it to you anymore. We misdiagnosed you. She said, I've been taking this for 30 years. What do you mean misdiagnosed me? You don't have diabetes. How could this happen? Or poor. Or poor. And the probiotic, the advantage of Dr. Prasad's probiotic is his brilliance when it comes to the gut. He's the scientist who figured out that butyric acid that comes from bacteria, the fermentation of this bacteria in the gut, produces butyric acid. Butyric acid is an anti-cancer agent. So he's the one who figured it out. So his probiotic is better than anything out there in the market. Instead of having to take 50 billion, 100 billion international units, you just take one of those, which is like 20 billion, maybe. Because he only put the heat resistant and acid resistant strains of bacteria in there. So it all survives and goes where it's supposed to go. The other ones, more than 50% of them, you just die in digestion in the gut. That's why they have to have such large quantities, because they never make it to where they're supposed to go. He chose heat resistant and acid resistant strains to guarantee that they make it. So that's why that one is the better way to go, all the way around. Okay?
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, so for the most part then, you guys are great, by the way, and very good questions, you're very insightful. And you're the kind of audience that everybody, should read. Because you want to know something, and you could have been doing anything else with your time today, but you decided to come in here an impromptu presentation over at Dr. Hatch's office. And for those of you who are on YouTube, I applaud you for taking your time out. Those of you who join us on Zoom, thank you for being here. We have about a half a dozen people on Zoom, and I can't tell how many on YouTube. We're probably about 10 or so on YouTube also. So the entire audience is probably about 30 people or so. So on short notice, this is good. All because this information is unique. It is unique. And we're going to start creating shorter 10-minute segments of information so that everybody can start getting more information out. I think that's what's going to make our audience grow.
Just record it so I can let my friends know and they can look at it later.
Yes, yes. Are you connected to us on WhatsApp?
Yes,
If you're connected there, the link will be shared.
okay.
And if you have not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, go there.
Oh, she's taking it.
Yeah.
I'm there.
You're there.
Yeah.
Good, then you'll find it, it'll be in the live section, the recording will be available. And all of that will be there, but we are gonna start slicing these up and making them 10 minutes. If you know Spanish speaking people, we're also gonna be, we're having most of these videos now dubbed into Spanish. So that they'll also be able to be shared with a larger audience. We have to get the word out. Lives are involved. And although, again, we're not claiming that these products will treat, cure, or heal in any way, shape, or form, but it's the food that's missing from our food. If you don't take control of your health, somebody else will. Thank you all very much for your kind attention. Those of you who are on Zoom and YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. And we're officially ending our meeting now. Have a good day. RTS.